Mr. Allard's Neighborhood. This is the place where you're entitled to Brad's opinion. And now for your host, Brad Allard.
Well, whatever blew in settled in my throat last night. So I woke up this morning feeling like I had sand in my gullet or sand in my throat, but that's fine. No big deal. I'm here, going to make this work one way or the other. Taylor is out there on the job somewhere, so he's not going to be able to participate as much as I would like. But there you are. He's making it work for me here now. Oh, geez. If you hear any buzzing going on in the background, I got Burleson Tree Service. A little shout out to them. Working in the backyard. I had a tree that died, and it's right next to the house. And if you let it go too long and something happens, like we have another bad storm like it did 2-3 days ago, and it does some damage, the insurance companies will give you the stink eye and maybe give more than that. But anyway, so if you hear any buzzing, that's what it is in the background. Today, I'm just going to talk about the border crisis a little bit, and also just some odds and ends about, kind of an update of what's going on. I've been in the studio a lot the last 2-3 weeks, and I'll be in the studio probably until the end of this month. We are going to have a couple of days off. I'm sure Taylor's happy to hear that. Well, it's a couple of days off during the Christmas holidays, but as far as studio shows, I got 2 next week. I'm really looking forward to, as always. Shandy's going to be on, talk about the real estate, the impact of the markets and the interest rates and what's going on with that. And also Tuesday, we have Victoria Johnson talking. She's going to give us an update what's going on with the city council. Before we jump into all this hair pulling about the border and whatnot, let's talk about the sponsors. And also, we have some Christmas events going on, so let's check into that. Thank you, Daniel, CrossFit Burleson, 317 Southwest Wilshire. Hit www.crossfitburleson.com, and you'll see the rates and the memberships and the plans and the programs and whatever. Oh, by the way, Taylor, I haven't gotten the link yet, so if you would. Also, thank you to Shandy, who, like I said, we'll see her on Monday, and we'll look forward to that. Also, check out the 817life.com page, because it's got a lot of things going on in the local neighborhood. I know that Fitability has a little contest going on through there, so I think you ought to take a look at that as well. Our old friend Jessica Valley Reams, you want to check, see what she's got going on. There we go. There's the link. Okay, and I got to share all this stuff now. Make sure my vast listening audience all gets hit here. 1, 2, 3, and one more. Come on. Where's the other one? There it is. And got it. Okay, anyway, thank you, Shandy. Also, thank you to Otto at our place. I was just there a couple of days ago, having a little lunch with a future guest, and it's all going to be set up in January. It's going to be a lot of fun. Also, it's a great place to do that kind of business. It's a place where the people mind their own business, and it's quiet and whatnot. The service is great. Otto, of course, is very hospitable. It's a wonderful place to either relax and do business, and just to take the family and whatnot. So our place on the highway in Alsbury since 1986. Also, Chris Notaboom over at Wild Cigar and Culture. They got a lot of specials going on, particularly drink specials. They got gift cards for either cigars or for the bar, which is a very nice bar. It's a great place to do business. Also, they have a conference room. They have all the stuff they need to make it a real comfortable place to conduct a meeting or something like that if you want, or just have a little one-to-one kind of thing. So Wild Cigar and Culture over at the Standard. Also, we have Tiffany Nico with the Local Life magazine. She's it came out about 2 weeks ago, early first part of this month. And if you want to look what's going on most currently, look on locallifetx.com. Also, check out her media kit. She's expanding her social media and media presentation opportunities and the services she provides. And so you take a look at that. It really is very impressive. Local Life magazine is more than just a magazine for ads, even though they're really great. It's also for news. And so check that out. And like I said, check out our media kit if you're looking to expand your social media presence. Also, thank you to Gayla over at Southern Gym. They're there right now. They're open later, and they're open all next week, including Monday, which normally they're closed on Mondays, but they're open for the Christmas season on Monday. They're open later. They're open a little bit later on Saturday. So they got a lot going on over at Southern Gym on the top floor of the Windmiller building. Inventory, repairs, design, cleaning, the whole thing, gift cards, layaway plan. They're their full service jeweler. Also, thank you to Michelle over at Hotworks, Michelle Humphrey, who really has a really good business going on over there. It's on 731 John Jones, right next to Chicken Salad Chick and next to the theaters and all that business over there on 731 The Commons, I think it's called now. But it's a great place for a different type of workout. It's 11 different programs under an infrared system that will maximize the workout and cause less strain on your joints and your muscles and whatever else. So check out the membership plan she has over there. Also, thank you to Melissa, my insurance agent, Texas Farm Bureau. At Texas Farm Bureau, they're there for auto, home, and life. 682-804-0534. She's located here in Burleson, but she'll go about anywhere around here to help you out. She can check out your insurance plan, see if you're getting the best deal. If she can't match it, she'll tell you. If she can match it or do better, you'll be saving time, money, and maybe getting a little bit better coverage. And from what several other people told me, the service Texas Farm Bureau gives its people, its coverage is very, very good. And let's see, we got some Christmas stuff going on. Of course, the Christmas ornament fundraiser over at Bennett's and at Accents for Reinspire. Reinspire is an organization that Shandy will tell you about on Monday some more, but it'll tell you what they do is they help foster kids age out of the system that are getting too old for the system, so to speak, and help them adjust to adulthood. And it's always a good thing. So go by Bennett's or Accents, and for $15 you get an ornament, and you can also certainly donate more than that. And we have at Rachel's Hope, this is her 20th anniversary. Today's the 15th of the 4-day celebration on today. So you go by and get to spin the wheel to win. Tomorrow, if you go by, or if you hear this show tomorrow, they're giving away grocery cards for the first 20 customer purchases. And final day for surprise gift basket raffle as well. So Rachel Hope supports the Next Step Women's Center, which we all know is a very, very valuable contributor to our community. And we want to support them in every way we can. So Rachel's Hope is having their sale. So drop on by and have a little fun. And I think we have one more. Yes, we do. Center for ASD. They need Lysol. They need paper goods. They need plastic cutlery. They need a lot of things. What they do, of course, with the Center for People on the Autism Spectrum is that they will help them, gain the skills they need to help them with their own lives. They teach them like culinary skills and things of that nature. They whatever household item we normally would use, they use in their program. So if you're at Walmart or Sam's or HEB or whatever else, and you're buying some non-food products, buy an extra one and drop it by ASD over at Crestmont Church. So it's a lot going on. There's probably even more than that I even know of, but there you are. All right. One of the things that has really, really concerned me greatly in the last 6 months in particular is the border situation down south. It's absolutely out of control. Now, you have to approach this with a little bit of, it's a good way of putting it, a level approach to it, in a sense that you do not want to characterize these people as bad people. I guess the best way to put it. They're not. They're desperate people. They're people trying to do the best they can for their family, and for us to characterize them inappropriately would be wrong. And most people I know, most sensible people I know, understand that. This, I don't run in circles that would look upon these kind of people as beneath us. But also, most people I know have a very big concern about having a border that's so totally porous that we're it's almost like we have no border enforcement at all. And so we do want to treat this in a humane and Christian fashion, but we can't have open borders where they're just crossing it in numbers. And when people accuse illegal migrants to be, criminals or whatever else, like Donald Trump characterized them, unfortunately, there is a small percentage of them that don't belong here because they are members of cartels and gangs, or they're trying to escape criminal punishments back home, or they are legitimate threats to our community. But we are talking a very, very small percentage. Okay, let's not lump all the people in there in the same category. And I don't want to be accused of saying that, because most of them are family people or young people trying to just do something for their families, either back home or they bring the families with them here and they try to get jobs and whatever else. The problem is we don't have any control over this situation. We don't know how many people are actually here illegally anymore. We also have a couple of states like California that want to give health benefits to illegal immigrants. And that's just, you're basically just opening up the door. And you are having a situation where particularly in the southern areas of our country, in South Texas and whatnot, it's so overwhelming. It's overwhelming the schools, it's overwhelming the hospitals, overwhelming the police, any public services, uh, and the private charities are completely overwhelmed by all of this. And my complaint is Joe Biden thinks nothing is going on. Here's an example. Last week he was in Arizona promoting some sort of government plan in Arizona. This is up in around the Phoenix area. And a reporter asked him, "Why don't you go down to the border?" And his quote was, "There's more important things going on." That's a quote. That's not me paraphrasing. He said, "There's more important things going on." So he wasn't going to go visit the border. I don't know what is more important than national security. And illegal immigration is a security threat, period. No matter what kind of gloss and kind of shine we want to put on it, and whatnot, there are people using this situation to enter our country illegally who mean us harm. Not all of them, not most of them, not even, and even 10% of them. As I'm saying, a very small percentage, but it is there that they are taking advantage of the situation of our basically open borders to enter this country, and they're not here to, you know, breathe free and get jobs and move forward. They're here to do us damage. We're not free of the terrorist threat. We're not free of Mexican cartels or other national cartels. We're not free of gang and drug violence. The fentanyl problem is out of control, and a lot of it is coming through the border. Washington Post all week has had major articles on the fentanyl crisis, which and that may be next week's topic next Thursday because I still have an open date and I may talk about fentanyl. And a lot of it's coming through the open border. And Joe Biden thinks there's more important things going on than that. This is a complete and total failure on the part of our government, our federal government. And when governors like Abbott or Doug Ducey in Arizona try to do something about it, they're met with all these uh, legal obstacles and other threats. But really, they don't have any other options because the federal government has totally failed on this. And for Joe Biden to think there's more important things going on than this, I'd like to know what they are, because few things provide a more existential threat to a country than not being able to maintain your own security internally or internationally. And having these kind of border situations is a threat to our security. Now, again, I just want to reiterate this point. Most of these people are coming here with families or with kids, or they're young people themselves, and they're trying to get away from Venezuelan oppression. They're trying to get away from terrible economies in Central America. They're trying to get away from the gangs in Nicaragua or in El Salvador or in Guatemala. I understand all of that. All right. And it's not these people that I'm worried about. I am worried about the numbers, though, the tremendous numbers. We need to have a system that if we're going to allow them in our country, we need to have a genuine process. But the federal government's completely tied down with this. You have one side that doesn't want anybody to cross the border, and you got another one that basically doesn't want any impediments to crossing the border. And so any kind of mutual understanding about the border situation between the two parties, well, they've been at loggerheads over this for decades. And Joe Biden has punted on it. He gave his Vice President Kamala Harris the portfolio, so to speak. This is your responsibility. She has never been to the border. Supposedly, Vice President Harris is supposed to be in charge of this issue, and she's never been to the border. She's never once. The only time, and she didn't even address it. Now she'll go off the chain about the Dobbs decision, or she'll go off the chain about voter suppression or whatever else and other myths like that. But they don't. But the job that she's been assigned to, she has not done one thing to it. The the head of Homeland Security, Alejandro Mayorkas, very well may be impeached for lack of doing his job. And I'm not a big fan of impeachment. I think it's a cheap way of trying to get things done. But in this case, I would not be upset by it because he's done nothing. And the last Senate hearing they had just a couple of weeks ago, even the Democrats were getting all over him for lack of performance. But here's some numbers just to back up what I'm talking about. I'm getting this from the Washington Post. The fiscal year, which started October 1st, by the way, just to make sure it's not a calendar year. The fiscal year's October 1st to September 30th. So when I give you fiscal year stats, that's in that time frame, not a calendar frame. But in fiscal year 2021, we had 1.7 million encounters at the border. What that means is that they either were caught by the Border Patrol, or in a lot of cases, what happens is the people that cross the river will go and make themselves known to the Border Patrol and claim asylum. Okay, so they'll claim asylum. So this idea that we're rooting them out behind the bushes or we're catching them as they cross the river, that happens some. But what also happens is they cross the river and they go to the nearest border patrol office or agent says, "Here I am. I'm claiming asylum," and that gets them into the system. And once they're in the system, they're basically given a pass to go into the country and say, well, "Come back later in 6 months, and when we have you scheduled to hear your case." And as you might guess, only about a fourth of those come back here for hearings. The rest just melted to society. So 1.7 in fiscal year 21 and fiscal year 2022, which just ended on September 30th, 2.4 million, 700,000 more. They're also the first 2 months of this fiscal year, October and November, 500,000. Now, these are the ones that we encounter. These aren't the ones that we don't catch or they don't make themselves known. When we see people crossing the river, literally, in broad daylight, it's not like no one notices it, obviously, because we're watching the video. They're making themselves known so they can get into the system. And then once they're in the system, it may be 2 years before their case is heard. And by that time, you can forget about any kind of appearance at court, anything like that. Now, also, there's a category that the Border Patrol calls gotaways. So these are people that evaded the U.S. Customs and has got into the country. In fiscal year 21, there was about 390,000 known gotaways. Last fiscal year, 600,000 known gotaways. These are people we don't have any idea who they are or where they are or where they're from. These are people that very likely are going to be integrated into gangs or cartels, whatnot. These are the ones that have the criminal records that come from other countries because they're trying to escape the law or they've been exiled, in effect. Now, here's the thing. Last week, was it 2 weeks ago, the Supreme Court heard a case from the federal government asking them to relax the government requirement that illegal immigrants with known criminal records be exported and that they be detained at the border and kicked back to the country of origin. They wanted the Supreme Court to relax that law. Why? Because they didn't have enough beds or facilities to take care of it. And then you look at the bill they just are trying to pass now, which will actually cut funding for beds and other detention facilities. Let me rephrase what I'm saying. The federal government under Joe Biden wants to eliminate as much as possible or reduce at least 9 to 10,000 detention beds and facilities in the name of budget cutting. And then they're going to the Supreme Court saying Congress won't give us the money to do this right, so we need to loosen the laws about people with criminal records. So they're going to let people with criminal records come into this country and melt into society with some sort of naive understanding that they'll come back for a hearing later. That's just ridiculous. We know what's going to happen. No one really believes that. Fortunately, the Supreme Court looked pretty skeptical at that. Here's another thing that's really about to kick in big time on this whole problem. there's something known as Title 42, which was passed during the Trump administration that basically allowed for the government to use COVID protocols to prevent people from coming in. But these guys are really buzzing away over here. Hey, text me if you hear it over the mic, but I don't think just let me know. Just text me if you can hear it. But back to what I'm saying. Title 42 was designed to allow COVID protocols to use those to prevent illegal immigrants from coming in under those provisions, as opposed to the usual immigration law that could say COVID protocols are superseding that, and therefore we can use that as a means to prevent legal immigration. Well, it expires December 21st, and the Biden administration fought to have it expire. They went to court to have it expire. That's how much they wanted to drop this COVID protocol. And therefore, because we don't have COVID protocols anymore, that means of preventing people from coming into our system will be dropped December 21st. Even the governor of California says it's going to be a real problem. He says, the fact is, this is a quote from Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, whom I'm not a big fan of. The fact is, we got right now is not working and is about to break in a post 42 world unless we take some responsibility and ownership. He's basically saying California can't handle it. Well, California has done a lot to encourage illegal immigration. The majority of illegal immigration people think is happening down in the valley. It's happening in El Paso and Tijuana. El Paso yesterday was Tuesday, had 2,400 alone just that one day. Because what's happening is the Title 42 the Title 42 provision is going to be dropped, people are already starting to line up for it. So where do we go from here? I really don't know. I just think that this next coming year, we're going to see a tremendous influx because the situation in Venezuela isn't getting any better. The situation in Central America isn't getting any better. And desperate people are going to go try to come into this country. And, again, for the grace of God go I kind of thing. But we're going to have nearly 3 million illegal encounters, so to speak, illegal immigrant encounters. And those are the ones we know about. And I'm quite sure we're going to be entering a recession pretty soon. And we're going to have in this recessionary period, people starting to lose jobs. Now, in a couple of minutes, I want to talk about the economy, at least what I've been reading about it. But we're going to have this increase of unemployed labor at a time when our economy is slowing down. Home construction is slowing down already quite a bit. A lot of the industries that rely on inexpensive labor, quite often illegal labor, those industries are slowing down because of higher interest rates. And it's precisely at the wrong time to have large unaccounted numbers of people in our system that basically don't have employable skills that we could use. Right. Now they're grinding the stump out there. I'm watching this at the window as I do this. That looks like a lot of fun. So there you go. Now let's talk about the economy briefly. Well, I'm quite sure we're going to be entering a recession. This is not because I have such negative feelings about Joe Biden and all this. This is what I'm just watching with the Federal Reserve, what they're doing when they're raising the interest rates. When they raise the interest rates, that is a sign of a recession. That is a cause of recession. The Federal Reserve is causing a slowdown in the economy because of inflation. Now, it came out a couple of days ago, 7.1. Everybody's dancing and hollering, only 7.1. That's still pretty high, as you know, when you go to the grocery store. But what's going to happen is that we are going to have a recession because the Federal Reserve is trying to engineer one. Almost every prognosticator in Wall Street say this. I've been reading a lot about this. This is not something I'm reading on some blog. This is Wall Street Journal and Washington Post. I would say I'd say it's going to be fairly severe, but we'll see. But we're going to have large numbers of unemployed people, and we add to large numbers of illegal immigrants in the system. We're looking at some real problems for social services, for medical care, for schools, the whole thing. We're going to have competition for jobs, and it's not going to be pleasant. Now, maybe I'm overstating it. Maybe I'll be wrong. Maybe the recession, if we do have one, is mild. But I just can't believe that. There's so much unanimous opinion across the political spectrum that a recession's coming, except in the White House, which they tell us the economy is, quote, strong as hell. Thanks for that, Joe. I don't have any financial advice to give you about what to do, because all I'd say is pay off your debts as quick as possible. That is not nothing new. Oh gosh, what is that guy's name? Dave Ramsey. He'll tell you the same thing. Pay off your debts as quickly as can. That's not what I would call controversial advice, but I think the time's coming. The time's coming when we are gonna have a tougher time by next summer. I would say by April. So that's just a look at those two things. As far as other stuff going on, Joe Biden, apologized to the African nations last night at a summit for our role in slavery. So, and gave them $55 billion in reparations. He said, "Well, where do you get the authority for that money?" Well, Congress will authorize a lot of money in these bills that the president may be able to do this and that and the other with unspecified money. So what he did last night was not unconstitutional. By now we could debate about should we have done it or not. That's another thing entirely. But he gave him $55 billion in reparations for our role in slavery. Also, we're talking about on December 17th, the budget deal was supposed to expire. So yesterday, the government does what it does best. They passed another stopgap funding bill to fund it another week. So they kicked the can down the road. So on Christmas Eve, the federal government's budget is supposed to expire. Now, what does that mean? If they don't have a spending deal by Christmas Eve, then you will have a government shutdown right at Christmas time. Now, am I worried? No, because what I think will happen is they'll all get together on the 23rd and they'll pass another stopgap funding bill for another week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever, let the new Congress deal with it. The thing about it, we've been operating so long into this system that we don't even hardly notice it anymore. But we don't pass budgets at the federal government level. We pass funding or agreements just to kick the can down the road. In the 8 years of Mr. Obama's administration, when they passed one official budget, I think with Trump about one. I don't know if Joe's passed one yet. So I'm not really saying there's going to be a crisis, but we may have a government shutdown at Christmas time for a few days. So while we're worried about other things, our government is going to be running out of money soon. But before we start, hoarding canned goods and start buying those survivor meals and whatnot, I'm just quite confident they will do what they've been doing for years, and that's just postponing the inevitable. Well, that's about it for today, guys. I just want to talk about that border issue because it just really struck me yesterday and this morning when I was looking it over, how concerning it was. Next week, Monday, I have Shandy. Like I said, we'll talk about the real estate. We'll talk about her reviews about what's going on with the markets. Also, on Tuesday, we have Victoria, and we'll talk about some stuff going on with the city. Next Thursday, I have a brief show. I'm going to talk about, maybe the upcoming Christmas season, maybe some updates on what we talked about here today. Remember the Christmas events that are going on in our community. Remember that they need your help. We were talking about all the numerous nonprofits. I had Debbie Beeman from Promises and I had Jennifer Wood from Harvest House back to back, and they all are saying the same thing. The need is growing and growing fast, not just incrementally, but noticeably and quickly. So remember that this Christmas, when you're going Christmas shopping, think about it, those other places we've been talking about on this show. Maybe you make a donation for Christmas, a year-end donation. Maybe make a drop off of some goods. You could always drop off diapers and other baby-related needs and toddler-related needs at Next Step. There's no shortage of need and no shortage of people trying to meet that need. So let's do our best, Bertelson, like you always have been. I appreciate your time. Share this with your friends if you will, and we will see you next week.